So today I thought I would speak from the heart, as I always do, but today the heart feels so heavy. Um, Anyways, as I am watering the grass and I look at all the weeds, and I'm reminded that the mind is just like a field of grass. That if you want beautiful, luscious, thick grass, you need to water it, you need to tend to it, you need to care for it. And take the weeds out when they come up. And don't leave them there to deal with next year, to deal with next time, because what's going to happen is what we all know what's going to happen with weeds. They spread, and they spread. So I left one of, my brain is not working because it's disconnected from the heart right now and it's difficult to get words out. We're all human. And this is me being extremely human. I guess it doesn't matter what weed it was, but what happened was I left one of these weeds out last year thinking, oh, next year I'm going to feel better and I will have the energy and I will have the time to take it out. Now, I look at my lawn and I'd say about almost a quarter of it is covered in these weeds. And it really made me realize, like, holy bejeebus. This is exactly what happens with our minds. When we have one negative thought and we don't deal with it, we avoid it, or we put it to fix and deal with later, what happens is that one negative thought turns to 2, turns to 3, 4, 5, until you have a garden full of weeds. So, tending to your garden of the mind is hugely important. And the heaviness that I speak of comes from me not tending to my own mind, not tending to myself as much as I would like to. In other words, putting it on pause. I'll do it later. This is more important. That is more important. This is more important. This is more important. I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, there's nothing more important than yourself, than your mind. Because if this is not screwed on right, because this morning it was really not screwed on right. If this is not screwed on right, and you have responsibilities, as all of us adults do, the fun shit that we all do, especially if you have children, they don't need to see it. Once in a while, yeah, I get that they need to understand that their parent is a human. And if you are a brick wall, and if you don't show your emotions and feelings to your family, to yourself, to the people that are watching you, that are inspired by you, if you don't show your vulnerabilities, then all of those people in your life have nothing to relate to you. Nothing. Now, when I say nothing, I don't actually mean nothing. I mean that they can relate to your strengths, which is awesome, which is great. But the deepest connections are made in moments like this. In moments when I feel like crying, as I am recording a video, whether it is for myself or whether it is for somebody, for my social media somewhere, I believe that if I feel like crying, that there is a need for it, not just for myself, but for the people that are watching, all of you guys that are watching, and take away what you want from it. You want to call me weak? call me weak. You just got me on a weekday. That's it. None of us are weak. None of us are weak. It takes a lot to show up every single day. It truly does. Some days we might not realize how much it takes to show up because we're just going and going and we're in the flow and we're in the zone. But other days, like for me today, it feels like it's a lot to show up. But I wanted to pick up my phone, record a video of the weed garden imagery that I have in my head. If you guys are interested in seeing the weed garden, reach out to me and I'll show you. But mind you, you can probably go. I call it a garden. It's a front yard. My backyard is cleaner when it comes to the weeds than the front. So there's that. Introvert and extrovert comes to mind as well when we're talking about the yards. And I guess in a way we can understand a person by looking at their front yard, if they are an introvert or extrovert. Mind you, I could be wrong because this is just a thought right now that just popped in my head, but I am an introvert. I'm a hardcore introvert with some extrovert tendencies, hence the videos. That's my extrovert coming out. And the gatherings with people sometimes, but because I am an introvert, I need the time to heal. And this is me taking the time to heal as well after spending time with people. But tend to your garden, guys, because that's what this whole video is about. Is about those weeds in the garden, those thoughts, those negative thoughts, those mean words that you hear your inner critic tell you. The gremlin. That's what I learned in school, my coaching school, that it's the gremlin's voice, and it sometimes gets so freaking loud, and it tries to whisper sweet loving words to you, like, oh, go do this, it's gonna feel good, but it takes your focus away from what you're truly wanting to do and accomplish, and what's truly going to make you feel good, because all those things are typically not easy to do. It involves some energy, and changes, and the gremlin does not want you to change, because change is uncomfortable, and it's not easy, and it can be painful. So right now what I'm going through is some changes that my body's going through. I'm giving myself time to heal before I have to get on calls, and that's why it's important to be my best self when I am with my clients. It truly is, and that's why I recognize what's going on. I work through it. This is me working through it as well as gardening and having all those realizations and realizing, shit, that's what happened. I had one negative thought on Friday. I'll deal with it later. Okay? Deal with it later. And then I had another one in the evening, Friday. So that was two, because they go on top of each other. They pile on. And then on the weekend, we had people over. And also, as we're getting the house ready, getting everything ready, I had my call with my client, and the dog needed to be walked. And there's a lot of other things. So it was go, 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 go. And a negative thought came to mind. I'll deal with you later. I'll deal with you later. And then later is today. So can you imagine how many negative thoughts have grown since Friday by me simply avoiding them, not confronting them, not dealing with them? And I typically have not been doing that for quite some time. But there is an opportunity in this painful time that I'm experiencing, this healing, right? Because when we are wounded, the wound needs to heal. We don't need to lick it too much, but just let it be and put the right kind of medicine on it. And a band-aid is not typically the right kind of medicine, because that just covers it up. And if it's an open wound, there's a lot of stuff that can grow inside. So yeah, the garden. How's your garden doing? I think that's a really good question. And I might just leave you guys here with those thoughts, since I can hear my neighbors now. And I don't want to distract them with my wisdom, or whatever. I really don't care if they hear me or not. But as I am wanting to focus on myself right now, I'm gonna go listen to some meditation, do some breathing, and then I will be ready to go and do the next thing. How's your garden looking and feeling? How many weeds are in that garden of yours? And which one do you want to tackle first? Yeah, because you gotta start taking out the weeds. Otherwise, the weeds will cover the grass, and the grass will not be able to grow. And we all like grass. It's nature's carpet. So if you want nice grass, you gotta tend to it. If you want nice weeds, ignore them, and they'll grow beautifully. So in other words, you gotta decide what you want to do, and also why you want to do it, right? Because if you don't want the weeds, the reason why you don't want the weeds is because you want the grass. And if you don't want the grass, you want the weeds, that's because you don't want the grass, you want the weeds, you want other things. So figure out what you want. Somebody's not happy. I don't know if you guys can hear the little baby crying next door. Yeah, so tend to your garden. And at the same time, I also wanted to mention another thought that I had around in my mind, which I was like, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. But I will leave the question to you guys to answer. When you are looking for a coach, someone who can help you work through whatever it is that you want to work through, or achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve, and you are interviewing your coaches, are you looking for a coach that tells you, or perhaps the word claims come to mind, claims that they have all of their shit together? Because to tell the truth, I don't know any human being who does. I don't. We all have shit to deal with. Even Oprah has shit to deal with. She doesn't have it all together. She has quite a lot of it figured out. Heck yeah. She has tools in her tool belt that will help her to overcome anything that is thrown her way. But she doesn't have it all figured out. She doesn't have all of her shit together. Nobody does. And the ones that claim they do are the ones that I personally have always steered clear of. Because the ego must be really big, which means that if they believe that they can fix you, which, by the way, you don't need to be fixed because you're perfect the way you are. Even if you're having a bad day, you're perfect the way you are. So if they believe that they can fix you, they will put their agenda on you. And remember that it's their agenda, not yours. And the person you want to be working with is the person that gets you, understands you, spends the time to get you and understand you. And allows you to figure out what your agenda is, why, and then helps you to put a plan together of how you will achieve it. That's it. No ego, no attachment is necessary, really. There's enough of that in the world. So, anyways, I think, why else? That's the question. It's like, why else do you believe it's important to have a coach that is open, authentic, and transparent, and tells you or answers your questions when you ask them, not tells you, answers your questions as to what are you working on? What are your struggles, right? What's difficult for you? If you ask during the interview of a potential coach this question and they're not able to answer it, there might be a lot more going on than you think. And that's why I believe transparency is key. And that's one of the best ways to also get to know each other and connect with each other on a deep level. Even though personal life is not necessary and it's not typically included in the sessions, but initially, that's what helps us to pick a coach. That's what helped me to pick my coach, honestly, because I wanted to know what was wrong with her, not what was right, because that was evident. That was evident. You can't hide that. But I wanted to know. My wrist just vibrated. The battery needs to be charged for my step counter. But I wanted to know what was wrong with her. Not in a bad way, because by seeing what was wrong with her, I was like, okay. So that's what you're working on, clearly, because if you are aware of what's wrong with you, that means you're working on it. That's what that means. And she was very aware. She knew what was wrong with her, and at the same time knew that it wasn't a bad or a good thing, and that it wasn't wrong and it wasn't right. It was just is, or it. And by me seeing the whole human being, I chose without any hesitation. I could not think of anyone else better who was gonna help me, who I wanted to work with. And that is the biggest question that I want everyone to ask themselves. Is this who I want to work with? How comfortable am I with this person? Being able to be as vulnerable as I have to. If I feel like crying, what's their reaction going to be? Are they going to allow me? Are they going to stop me? What's going to happen? Right? If I bring something up in a session that might not be a fun topic. Well, for example, today, right now, this is what a session could be. This could be a session. I'm just having it with myself. And there are questions that I'm asking inside my mind for myself to give the next response. But this could be a beautiful session. And how would that coach allow you to go through it and grow through it? There. So that's all I have for you guys for today. I think it's starting to rain. I water the grass in the front, and my husband calls me. He goes, sweetheart, it's supposed to rain all week. I'm like, I know, but my mind needs watering. My garden needs tending. And he knows, I already told him in the morning that I wasn't feeling so well. That's why he called me, and that's why he kind of checking in on me here and there. He's like, okay, well, I'm like, and plus on the weekend it didn't really rain. He goes, yeah, actually it did. It did rain yesterday a little bit. I'm like, that's not enough. My garden needs more water. Yeah. So anyways, have an amazing the rest of your day. It is raining now, so good thing I'm not watering the backyard. I'll leave that for the rain to do, and I'll just sit here in my hammock and listen to something and go do the rest of the day. Bye for now. Thanks for watching.